The Kentucky Small Business Development Center is a statewide, nationally accredited program that provides no-cost, confidential business coaching and training services. Whether you're just getting started or are ready to expand, we have the tools, resources, and expertise to help you succeed. We're part of a national network, America's SBDC, with over 1,000 centers across the nation. To learn more about how the Kentucky SBDC can serve you, please visit KentuckySBDC.com or email us at info@KentuckySBDC.com. You can also reach us by calling 888-414-7232. Thank you for joining today's webinar. The chat feature is available for you to ask questions and interact with today's speaker. Please take a moment to introduce yourself and where you are watching from today.
Hi there, welcome everybody to another Wednesday webinar. I'm Dave Etkin, I'm the director here at the Louisville Small Business Development Center. Glad to see everybody. Hope you're doing well. So again, we are, the Louisville Center here is one of 13 centers across the state of Kentucky as part of the Kentucky Small Business Development Center network. And just to make sure that everybody can see us well, hear us, and everything's working well, just look at the bottom of your screen there. If you take your cursor down there, the toolbar will pop up. And there you'll find the chat feature. If you wouldn't mind just checking that out, just put your name in there and tell us where in the universe you're joining us from. It's always great for us to see where everybody's from. So just take a second to do that so that lets me know that our tech's working well today. So just take a second there. Looks like Ryan's already popped in there. So yeah. I guess everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. So one of the things that's top of mind is how to build sales and do it in a systematic way. And I've invited my good friend, Zach Himes, who is the CRM and Lifecycle Marketing Manager for Flypaper Media. They're one of the best digital marketing agencies here around. So Zach, how are you today?
Doing well. How are you, David?
Good, great. So without too much further chit chat, let's just jump right in and get started here, and then take a look at the Flypaper or the Flywheel way you have things set up here under CRM.
Yeah, you betcha. So really, kind of like David said, more than ever, it's an important time to understand how to use customer data, because a lot of companies are getting more data than ever before or getting interested in collecting more customer data. So one of the things that we want to talk about today is using the Flywheel to supercharge your customer data. So you may be sitting there going, what in the world is the Flywheel? Well, I'm going to explain that later in the call. But for now, I want to first off introduce myself. I know David said a little bit about who I am. I also wanted to just say I'm Zach Himes. I'm the director of CRM and Lifecycle Marketing at Flypaper Digital Media. And one of the things to know about me is that this is the most happy you're going to see me, because football starts this weekend. And I am just a better person in the months where football's going. So just know that if you reach out to me after this call, it's going to be the best version of me. So make sure you reach out during football season. Alrighty, so before we can jump into what the Flywheel is, we need to know what people have been using instead of the Flywheel. And so one of the things that businesses commonly use is the funnel. Maybe you've used it, maybe you've heard of it. A lot of times that's where sales and marketing go first, is talking about the funnel. Long story short, the funnel is a process that takes you through the steps from somebody becoming aware of your business all the way to taking an action and becoming your customer. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the funnel for a second, and then we're going to talk a touch about the Flywheel. So first off, why do we use the funnel? So some of you guys may be a little bit like me, and you went to school, and in school, that's what got taught to you. And then you got your first job and they continued to teach you the funnel. So for some people, it's because it's what we've been taught. It also illustrates the biggest issue that you as a business owner most likely face, and that's lead generation. How do I get leads? How do I work somebody through the process of my system, and how do I keep it somewhat organized? Also, I know more than ever, businesses are experiencing either a lot of growth or a lot of change in the way their staff is set up, and a funnel allows you to have those steps clearly defined and work through them. It also provides a very clear picture of the journey from a prospect to a customer, and kind of allows you to understand the areas where people might get stuck, the areas that they might go through when going through that process. So what are the pros and cons of the funnel? So first off, the pros on the left side of the screen, it's over time, variations have been created to address the changing needs. So you probably have seen a funnel that looks like the one I just showed you with just 4 stages. I did a quick search of funnels earlier in the week, and the amount of variations of the funnel are endless. You could go through pages and pages of Google and see different funnels. Some people make them match up to what their current system is. Some people take the basic ones and add a few more steps. Some are even trying to address one of the issues that I'm going to talk about with the funnel later by adding a stage for after somebody has made it through the funnel. But also the next thing about it is it creates a clear focus and goal. So the goal of a funnel has never been disputed. It is to have the output of the funnel. It's to have that customer at the end of the funnel. I don't know if anybody has ever used a funnel for anything. I have a Honda vehicle that doesn't have a gas cap. So if I want to put gas in and I'm out of gas, I need to use a gas tank. Rather than taking off a cap and putting it in there, I have to use a funnel. Now, one thing about a funnel is the goal of the funnel is to get something from one vessel to another vessel in a more diluted, a more precise way. And so that is the main goal of the funnel. The next thing there is the funnel has many stages that address the various stages of customer journey. A business is always going to look different from another type of business. Anybody on here who owns a business or who have maybe even owned multiple business, you'll understand that every business, every process is slightly different. And so the funnel helps address that. Now, some of the cons of it is it emphasizes becoming a customer, and oftentimes it forgets about the idea that customers also have a role after the fact. Most of you guys who run businesses, you know that your customer base can be a huge source of word of mouth for your business. It could be a huge source for referrals, for reviews, for different things that you might be able to do. And the next thing there is that it focuses primarily on sales and marketing. So the 2 areas that use the funnel the most are salespeople and marketing professionals. And so within those 2 areas, that's great. It does its job. However, there's a third component, which we'll talk even more about later, and that's the service side of the business. That's the people who are doing your customer service, who are keeping your customers happy. Oftentimes, they're not thought about in a funnel. It also focuses on linear movements and allows for friction. It allows for your business to get disjointed, your teams to get a little separate in the way they operate. So let's take a look at the funnel. So the funnel here has multiple stages. You've got an awareness stage, you've got the interest stage, you've got the decision stage, and you've got the best one, the action stage. So one thing to note is that this is the most basic form of the funnel that I've found out there. It's very simple, very straightforward. Like I said before, people have made new iterations of this and added steps and added different things, but this is the most basic area of the funnel. So I want to walk you through these 4 steps of the funnel and kind of tell you what the goal of those are. So the first step is awareness. That's where somebody becomes aware of your company. They realize you're out there, that you could solve their problem. That's the awareness stage. The next up is interest stage. That is where somebody takes an interest in what you sell and what you do. They become interested in potentially becoming your customer. Then that leads to the next stage, the decision stage. That's where you're looking at competitors, you're looking at what else is out there and seeing if it is something that you want to do with the business that you first approached, or maybe another business. And the last step, like I said, the best one, that's the action where the person becomes your customer and utilizes your business. So that's kind of the steps that we go through in a funnel. Like I said, you'll see a lot of variations, but that's kind of the main look. But one of the questions that you always need to ask if you're a business owner, and many of you understand this, is how can we be better? What if there was a better way? And so what we're going to look at next is what I think and what the people over at HubSpot, we're good friends with the folks at HubSpot, and they believe it is a better way as well. So here's some reasons why you may think it's time to switch to this better way. First off, if you have a customer journey that continues past the point of sale. So unless you're selling something where you sell it once and you never interact with that customer ever again, it might be time to look into this method. Number two, maybe you have a good customer base who finds value from your service and your goods. Maybe it's time to switch. Number three, you notice the parts of your team are becoming disjointed. This has been completely put under a magnifying glass during the pandemic, because as teams switched to virtual models, if you didn't have good systems, if you didn't have good processes, all of a sudden it became very clear that teams were getting separated. Marketing was separated from sales, and sales was separated from customer service, and all of them felt maybe separated from decision makers at the top. And so if your team is feeling disjointed, maybe it's time to look at this method. Then number four, if you want to increase the avenues in which you generate customers. So for some people, maybe you've always generated your customers in the same way. Maybe it's word of mouth. Maybe it's through your ads that you run. Maybe it's through a myriad of different things out there. However, if you're looking for additional avenues to generate customers, maybe you should look at this model. So by now, I've probably teased you enough and you're asking, what is this model? What is the thing that he is talking about that can make my business run better and be more efficient? And that, my friends, is the HubSpot Flywheel. So the Flywheel is as you can see, it's a little different of a look. It doesn't look like the funnel we just looked at, but it has some of the same kind of ideas in it. This idea comes from our friends, like I said, at HubSpot. They looked at the funnel and said, this is great, it works, and it still works. However, is there a better way to look at how a customer's journey goes? So what we do is we have the Flywheel. So like I said, the Flywheel, it's a reimagination of the funnel. It takes a process that had a beginning and an end, from that awareness stage to that action stage, and turns it into a cyclical nature that has a clear vision of what a customer goes through. Ideally, the journey that a customer would go through. It consists of 4 customer stages. You can see those on the outside ring: strangers, prospects, customers, and promoters. And then it has 3 actionable stages on the inside, with attract, engage, and delight, with growth being at the center. Because for all businesses, that's the goal that we have, is growing. So here's a colorized version of this. As you can see, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. And I'm going to break this down. I'm going to talk a lot more through this. However, just wanted you guys to see it in color, kind of see what it looks like. Definitely, you can search Flywheel online and you can find a lot of information about this, and also can find it to print it off, put it on everybody's desk, and make sure they see the Flywheel every day when they come to work. So who belongs in the Flywheel? So first off, let's start with that top stage, the stranger stage. So this is the one, as business owners, this is the big mystical area where we're trying to figure out, how can we get somebody to be interested in our business? How can we get them to reach out to us? How can we meet their needs? So the question that a client would ask in this scenario is, who are you? So we're going to talk even more about this a little bit later in this presentation, but this is where a client is, or a customer or prospect is starting to do some work. They're starting to do some research to see, who is this business? What are they selling? What are they doing? This is the stage where your content matters, how you look online matters, how easy you are to get in touch with. All those things matter. Then that takes us to the prospect stage. So this falls into the attract and engage area of the Flywheel. And the question a customer would ask in that part is, why you? This is where they have taken an action to say, hey, I'm interested in your business. And then how do you respond back to them? Traditionally, that has been getting a form or getting a phone call and responding to somebody, sending an email back, going through and having an automated email you send out, sending some direct mail, whatever it may be. Now, I'm going to talk to you a lot today as we get deeper in the presentation about automation and how you can use automation to help some of these stages be even more efficient. But the question that a customer would ask is, why you? Then we get to the customer stage. This is the part where previously in the funnel, this would be the accomplishment stage. You did it, you got the customer, this is awesome. Now, in the Flywheel, it's the engage and the delight stage. So at this stage, what a customer is asking is, now what? So what they're saying is, they've become a customer, they've bought your product, they've used your service, they're going to continue, they've signed your contract. Now what? How do you take care of them after this stage? This is the stage that I think is probably the most important transition that you can make as a business, is going from just getting customers to delighting customers, to taking it into the next step of making sure they're happy with your service. I don't know about you guys, but I have recently, I talked about this the last time I presented on one of these presentations. My wife and I bought a house in January. And so we've been working with a lot of contractors, a lot of people to do work at our house. And nothing is more infuriating to me than the person who gives you a quote, and then when you go to ask questions because you're like, hey, I want to become your customer, they don't respond. Or even worse, you do use their service, and then you ask a question after the fact, after you become the customer, and it's radio silence. You don't hear a thing. And so this is where the flywheel helps us take it to the delight stage. So the last person that we're going to have in our flywheel is a promoter. A promoter is in the delight stage and then restarts the attract stage as well. Basically, that is a customer who asks the question, who else needs this? This is your customer who says, I want to promote you. I want to let people know that you exist. It's the person for me. I am a huge fan of Lululemon clothing. If you've ever worn Lululemon clothing, you know how great it is. If you haven't, check it out. You can hit me up. I will tell you all the best things to get. But Lululemon clothing, I love it. So anybody that asks me, hey, like, what pants are those? I am so happy to tell them, hey, they're Lululemon. You should check them out. Here's the website. Here's how I get the best price on them, whatever it may be. So I love talking about it. So I promote that. I become a promoter for that brand. There's a lot of brands that you probably could look at that you're a promoter of. So what I'm going to ask right now, because I love having people put stuff in the chat, I need some people to give me, what is a brand that you are a promoter of, that you will consistently say, this is great, you need to try it. Let's see if we can get some responses in the chat on this. All righty, and we'll keep going. I'll keep looking for any of those things y'all are promoting in the chat. I need some new ideas of products or services to use. All righty, so then what are the stages of the flywheel? So these are the inner circle, the attract, engage, delight stage. So attract is the first one. The whole goal of attract is to win a customer's attention. So as we know, in today's world, getting attention is so hard. I don't know if anybody here uses TikTok. If you do, I'm sorry, I do too, and it takes so much of my time. However, and I see a video that's 2 minutes, 3 minutes long, I just don't have the attention span to watch it. Now, if it's 15 seconds, I'm all about it. So how can you win somebody's attention, and how can you do that fast? We'll break that down here in a little bit. Then engage. How do you win their business? So at the end of the day, how are you going through the steps to make sure that you are winning somebody's business? Once they take the step to say, hey, I'm interested, what are you doing? Are you reaching out to them? Are you reaching out to them consistently? Are you offering articles or emails or some type of support, whether it's your social channels, your YouTube channel, to say, hey, here's why you should use us? Are you going to win them over and win their business? Now, the last stage is delight. Like I said, this is the one that differentiates the funnel from the flywheel. This is where you win somebody's loyalty. This is where you create such a good experience and such a good product that somebody stays loyal to your brand and continues to use your service. So let's dive deeper into these stages. So first off, the attract stage. The attract stage is one that business owners, marketing people, salespeople, we have been fighting with for a long time of how do we attract people to our business. So I want to give you a couple of ways that you can do that inside of the flywheel model. So the first way is creating value through content. So I don't know about you, but if you've ever had somebody that's a really good social media follow, whether it's a business, whether it's a brand, a service, they sell a good, if they have good content, I want to follow them. I see their stuff and I go, wow, this is incredible. So I'll tell you about a brand. There's a brand called Haller Brothers. They sell hats, they sell clothes, they sell all sorts of different outdoorsy type stuff. I'll tell you this much, not that much of an outdoorsy person. However, the Haller Brothers stuff is awesome. It's got really good breathability. It's really soft. It looks good. And so I follow them on social media and I've bought a couple of their things. Now, they put out such good content that even if I'm not looking for their product, there's a chance that I'm following them just to watch the content they put out. So having good content on both your paid and your organic channels will create content value. The next thing is making sure that content is timely and relevant to your customers. So we've all seen it where a piece of content is just super untimely, whether it's talking about something that's just not very appropriate at the time. It doesn't pay attention to what's going on in the world, and it's just super untimely, or it's just not relevant. I just recently signed up for a newsletter service, and they sent out some newsletters, but you could tell they were recycling newsletters because some of the things they were referencing were super outdated. It was celebrities that are no longer that big of celebrities. It was phrases, it was terms, it was quotes that just weren't relevant. So making sure that you stay timely and relevant. The next one's word of mouth. So we work with a lot of small businesses. We primarily work with regional and local businesses. And one of the things that we hear all the time is my primary way to attract customers, my primary way to generate leads is through word of mouth. And that's awesome. Like, we want that. However, the way you do that is by creating a product, a service, or an experience so good that people just have to start talking about it. They have to tell somebody about it. And now here's the thing. Word of mouth is becoming harder and harder as areas see growth, new people move in, areas start to become more disjointed from the community that used to be there. Word of mouth is becoming harder, still possible, but it's becoming more online where your word of mouth comes from somebody who's used your service, which once again, the Flywheel does a good job of. The last one is smooth experiences. This is probably the most underrated area of attracting somebody to your business of anything I'll talk about. Making sure you have a smooth experience, making sure that the experience when somebody comes to your website, when somebody views your content, is both efficient and effective. So if your process is super inefficient, I have to click 20 times to get to what I'm trying to read. And then once I get there, there's loading issues. It loads really slow. And then I get into the content and I have to click a link every so often to go to another piece of content to get my answer. It's not very efficient. It's not very effective. And most likely you're not going to win that business. So making sure your experiences are smooth, making sure it's an experience where people want to take advantage of that. They want to go into that and use that. So I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm going to show you a couple examples, a couple of screenshots, and talk about some ways that you can do this in the real world. So first off, I just recently got a prescription for glasses. I don't have to wear them all the time, so I don't have them on now. Don't tell my optometrist. But I have an astigmatism, been diagnosed with that. Didn't realize I had it, but I've had it for a long time apparently. It's why driving at night was really bad for me. So now I have glasses. And one thing about me is I lose stuff pretty frequently. So I bought my fancy glasses at the eye doctor. But then I'm like, you know what? I need some additional pairs. I need some more pairs that are more of a value pick so I can keep some in my car. I can keep some in my wife's car. I can keep some in various places of the house. And so I started looking at services online that will help me pick glasses. Now, here's the thing. Some of you may relate to this. I have never found a pair of sunglasses that I feel like I look really good and they fit my face well. So I'm like, okay, now I'm going to have to wear glasses all the time. This is tough. So what I did is I went to Glasses USA, and when I got to their page, the first thing I saw is take this quiz, find your frame in 60 seconds. So this is awesome. This is so awesome because what you're able to do in this scenario is you're able to take this quiz, get an idea of what kind of frame fits your face. And even more so, the experience gets even better because after you've done that, it shows you the styles and the frames that match the style you were matched with. And then you can even do a virtual try on by adding a photo or taking a video of your face. So I was able to go through multiple glasses and find ones that looked good on my face, or at least I feel like looked good on my face, and go from there. Now, the next thing, that's kind of that experience right here. Now, for us, the other part we talked about was content that's valuable. So you'll notice at the bottom, these are all flypaper. These are all things that we have done. And so the first step is we put out some social posts lately that have talked about how to create value and how to do certain things. The do's and don'ts is a big one we have on that far left post. Basically, quick tips for website success. And then we had a blog post and a social campaign about marketing company versus an in-house team. You'll see over here, it's kind of small, but these are our blogs. We have multiple blogs that go hand in hand with the stuff that we're talking about on social media because we know people are at a different stage. Somebody might want quick tips. Somebody else might be questioning if they should bring all their marketing in-house or stop doing it in-house and going to an agency instead. And so for us, we want to make sure we put that content out there. I also encourage you, if you're on this call and you're interested in any type of digital marketing news, give us a follow on social media. That's my shameless plug, and I'll move on. So the next stage is the engage stage. The engage stage, this is where you really make all the work you do up front to attract businesses or attract customers pay off. So the steps here, I told you, I promised you I was going to talk about automation. Here we are. This is the automation part of this discussion. So there's two types of automation that you can do. There's sales automation, there's marketing automation. Sales automation is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to automate sales processes to allow for consistency and effectiveness in your follow-up. We know it. Sales reps, I love sales reps. They're great. They're a good time. They really help businesses grow. However, sometimes they get distracted. Sometimes they're so busy doing so many other things that follow-up is what lacks at times. Sometimes you maybe have a lead process where you're the sole person in your business and you're trying to get somebody to follow up. You're trying to get somebody followed up with, get them scheduled, get the next thing done while also doing all the other tasks you have. Sales automation will help that process. And we'll look at a real life example of sales automation here in a second. But then the next type is marketing automation. So this is making sure that once somebody engages with you, you follow up with them with relevant information. Now, this ties back into customer data. If you can have good customer data and you can understand a customer that comes to your website, you can automate them, and not just automate them and flip the switch and whatever, I'll leave it alone, but automate them in a way that feels personal, that feels tailored to them and feels relevant to what they're experiencing, whether that's tailoring it based on what page of a website they fill out a form on, whether it's tailoring it to the answers they provide on that form. We can make a very tailored approach that's all automated so that you as a business owner, you as a marketing person, don't have to continue to follow up with a bunch of emails. We can do that for you. So the next thing is multi-channel communication. So this one for me, I have learned very big in the last couple of years. People love to communicate in so many different ways. So for instance, we have a team that's pretty diverse. We have a lot of different ages. We have a lot of different roles. We have a lot of different areas that people work in, and everybody likes to communicate slightly different. So we have an internal chat system. We use Slack as an internal chat system. And with Slack, some people just want to send a quick Slack message. Other people want to pick up the phone and send a text. Other people want to get on the phone and do a phone call. Some people have fallen in love with Zoom and want to hop on a Zoom call really quickly. Other people, if they're in the same office, they're around you, want to talk in person. There's so many different ways that people want to be communicated with. And that also translates over to your customers. Your customers have different preferences for communication. So allowing as many communication channels as is possible for your business. I say as possible for your business because we want to make sure it's something that you can actually respond to. If you put an option to do a Zoom call, but you don't have the time to do Zoom calls all the time, leave that off there. We want to make sure it's effective communication, but we also want to make sure that we give multiple channels for people to do that. Some that are more high entry and others that are lower barrier of entry. So those are the stages here. Let's take a look at some examples real quick. All right, so let me back up quickly, going too fast. So the couple of things we have here on the left-hand side, this is an example of sales automation. So what would happen here is this person submits a form, and we know that they submitted a form on our website. They're not created from offline sources, meaning that our user doesn't go ahead and input it into the system. They actually took an action on our site or our marketing, and then they immediately get a follow-up email. So you get a follow-up email that simply just says, thank you so much for filling out a form. We're glad that you reached out. If there's anything we can do in the meantime before we have a chance to connect with you in person or on the phone, let us know. Then we wait 3 days because, as you know, not every rep responds immediately. Not every client responds immediately. So you wait 3 days and then we send another follow-up. This follow-up might be more not aggressive, but more intentional by saying, hey, like, we've noticed you haven't responded back to us yet. We'd love to find a time to connect with you. What works best for you? An email, a phone call, or a Zoom call. So from that point, we automate that. This all happens automatically. So from somebody filling out a form to the second time we follow up with them, our rep doesn't have to do a single thing. We create these templates up front, and from there, it goes out. Now, on the right-hand side is an example of something our sales team uses consistently to follow up with reps. Both of these tools, by the way, are in our HubSpot system. I'm going to talk a little bit about HubSpot as we go into this. If you're curious about what HubSpot can do, feel free to reach out to us. We are lucky to be partnered with them. We're a HubSpot partner, and we're able to kind of walk through that with you. So if you have questions, we can hit that. I don't want to spend too much time on it because we're wanting to focus on the Flywheel today. So this sales tool on the right, this is what we call a sequencing email set. So basically what happens is the sales rep does have to take an action here. They have to enroll somebody in a sequence. Now, here's the hack for that. We can also create a workflow like what we have over here that automatically enrolls somebody in a sequence. But for the most part, our sales reps will enroll somebody directly. So then what happens is they enroll somebody and they get an email automatically. You can see we are able to put personalization for their first name, whatever type of content they're interested in, whatever their company name is, we can put all that in there. Then what happens is it waits 2 business days. Then it creates a task to call that company and follow up. Now, what happens here is if we get to that point, we check that task off, or there's an option to make it just proceed even without checking the task off. Then it goes to create another task. Oops, sorry about that. To create another task. And so it creates that task. And then what you can't see here is there's more steps after it. There's another automated email. There's another task. And all of that is automated unless a client gets unenrolled from it. The way a client would get unenrolled is either they respond to an email, they get manually unenrolled by somebody on our team, or they book a meeting with us. So that's the way they get unenrolled. Other than that, that is all automated. So a sales rep enrolls somebody, and from that point on, they don't have to touch it for, in this case, as you can see here, 6 days. So their week of following up with this client, done for them. They don't have to worry about it. So that's where automation can make you more efficient and more effective in what you're doing. So let's keep going to the last stage. The one, like I said, this is the money maker. This is the one that differentiates businesses commonly. The delight stage is where we make sure our customers value what we do, they become loyal to us, and they become promoters for our business. So the first thing here that's important to note is support matters. Anybody here who has experienced a bad support experience knows exactly what I'm talking about. We want to make sure that your support is beneficial. Your support gives people answers. It works with them. It talks to them like a human, not a number, not a computer. It's a human asking a question and needing an answer. So support is number one. There's a lot of cool things that you can do with support. Then the next step here is customer feedback. So getting an idea of what your customers are actually thinking, whether that be through reviews, whether that be through outreach to your customers and asking, how's it going? Yearly reviews, quarterly reviews, whatever it may be, having that idea. The next thing here, the last one, is loyalty programs. And I'm going to talk about a program that I am super loyal to on the next slide. And I'm just going to go ahead and preface this that I need you guys to right now start releasing your judgment, because the loyalty program I'm about to talk about is a doozy of one for me. But the three stages, just to reiterate, are support, customer feedback, and loyalty program. So let's take a look. So one of the most tried and true ways here on the left-hand side is just simple reviews. So getting a review, having that review in there is super important. Making sure that people have good reviews. If they have a bad review, responding to it efficiently and explaining why maybe that review happened or why maybe it's discredited, whatever it may be, having reviews and responding to them. In the middle here, this is what we call an NPS survey. So basically it's on a scale of 1 to 10. You track your detractors. So anybody who scores it less than a 5. You have your neutral people, anybody on a 6, 7, or 8, and then your promoters that are anybody on a 9 or 10. Basically, how likely are you to refer our business to somebody else? Those people who score 9 and 10 and want to promote your business, they have officially made it through the delight stage and are becoming promoters of your business. So that's what we want to see, is as many 9s and 10s as possible. If somebody's less than a 5, we got some work to do. We need something that we need to improve. We need to look at our systems and our processes. So now it is time for me to tell on myself and talk about my favorite loyalty program. As you can see there, you probably picked up on it from the delicious French fries that are sitting on the right-hand side of your screen right now. I love McDonald's, probably too much so. I eat it too frequently. I started talking about it. I was looking through my slides before this call and immediately got hungry for McDonald's. So if anybody follows up with me after this call, I may be at McDonald's. However, one thing to note here is the things that make the McDonald's app stick out. It's the programs. It's the fact that you can see in this right-hand corner, I have over 7,000 points. Basically, the highest level item you can get is at 6,000 points. So I can get anything with my points. So there's times I go to McDonald's, get something free, but still spend money because of the loyalty to their brand. They also offer me common deals because I have their app and I'm signed up for it. So if I keep going, I get certain deals. I get a discount. I get dollar fries or free fry Fridays sometimes. Check those out. Really good time. But their loyalty program allows for me to feel like I'm valued, to feel like I get a benefit from it. And if I'm choosing between McDonald's and maybe another service that doesn't have a loyalty program, I'm likely to go to McDonald's because I get something in return for my purchase, minus just the delicious fries. So you probably have been looking at all the Flywheel stuff and going, okay, cool. Like I see it's a circle and it looks like it's supposed to spin. So I'm going to answer the question for you now. How do you make the Flywheel spin? So the first thing about the Flywheel is you need to identify friction in your processes. When I say friction, what I mean is anywhere in your process that is slowing down your customer from hitting the next stage, anything that's maybe causing your customers to leave the process of becoming your customer. What are the areas of friction that are slowing things down or creating issues? Once you identify those, finding ways to remove them. So one of the most common areas for friction is having teams that aren't connected. I know that we've worked in a way here at Flypaper. I talked about this the last time I spoke, but we used to use spreadsheets for everything. And our sales reps would keep a spreadsheet of every person they called, their phone number, all their data. And then our account management team would also keep a spreadsheet of their customers and their data. And the marketing team had a spreadsheet of all of our customers and people who'd fill out forms and how to reach out to them. But they were all disjointed. Everybody's spreadsheet was different. Everything was formatted different. It was all separated. So when we became a HubSpot customer in 2018, we were able to take all that data and have everybody have a single source of truth. Everybody was able to look at that, and we were able to reduce that friction so that when somebody goes from the attract stage that's commonly marketing to the engage stage that's commonly sales, then to the delight stage, which is commonly customer service, all of those stages work together and we're able to see all those different areas of the process rather than being separated and disjointed. So that's one way to remove friction. The next thing is to identify areas of strength. So I talked about earlier those 3 stages and the things you can do in those stages. Maybe you were watching that and you went, I saw Betsy said that she had the last 2 down. And so for instance, maybe you're like, I'm really good at that. I'm doing that really well. Guess what? That's an area of strength. Now what you need to do is apply force to that area and really emphasize. The best part about the Flywheel is a customer can become a customer and a stranger can enter at any real place, whether it's on the attract stage, the engage stage, the delight stage. They can enter and they can come in and move through areas really fast. So if you can identify, hey, I'm really good at servicing customers and my customer service is better than anybody else that you're ever going to work with, that is the area you can apply force, increase delight, increase promoters, and in turn, make this flywheel spin faster and faster and faster. So at the note I have at the bottom, if you apply force while removing friction, your flywheel will spin faster and your business will have the best chance to grow. So at the end of the day, we want to remove friction and we want to apply force to the areas that we feel are our strengths. So what are some of the main points of friction? I just talked about disjointed teams, but once again, just to reiterate, disjointed teams that work in silos, that work in their own area, who don't collaborate well. That's a main point of friction. The next thing is a lack of a clear process. If you've ever went through any type of onboarding of something, or you've worked with a business and there's not a clear process of what you're supposed to do, super confusing, and it leads to slowdowns. It leads to you having to ask for clarity. It leads to you having to ask somebody or multiple people what you're supposed to do next. But not having a clear process creates friction. The next thing is sporadic storage of information. So this was our story. I'm telling on us with all of our spreadsheets. That was very sporadic in the way we stored it. We couldn't reference it. If a sales rep left, took their spreadsheet, we couldn't reference that client. Now we use HubSpot. Like I said, I'm casually slipping in HubSpot because I believe it's a really strong tool, but we use HubSpot to organize and manage all of our data so that we can utilize it for automation, we can utilize it for marketing, we can utilize it for customer service, but we also have it in a stored place so that regardless of who's here, who leaves, what areas and what roles people take on, that data is consistent, it's clear, and it's stored from now until whenever we decide to get a different CRM or move on to another CRM or stop using a CRM, it's always going to be there. The last thing is a business-focused experience instead of a customer experience creates friction. Because at the end of the day, if you think about a customer is not going to understand your process as well as you understand your process. If a customer understands your process better than you, there's a bigger issue. But most of the time, businesses focus on the experience from their viewpoint. Well, I understand this. I know I need this. I know this is what a customer is going to want, instead of looking at it from the view of the customer. How can I best serve them? How can I make sure they're getting what they want? And how can I put them at the center? So like it says there, if you want the most out of your processes, you have to put the customer at the center. With the customer at the center, growth will come. And then what are some opportunities for force? So opportunities for force are content. If you have good content, or maybe you're like, I'm really good at talking about stuff, create some audio content. Maybe you're like, I'm great on camera. Well, guess what? Create video content. Maybe you're like, I'm an incredible writer, write blog content. Maybe you're like, I'm not good at any of those things. Find somebody who is and create that content. The next step is communication. Being able, like we talked about, to have multiple channels of communication and to be effective in the way that you respond in those communication channels. Then we hit client experience, making sure that your experience that the client has is good. It's one that they want to have their friends go through. It's one they want to refer to people and say, hey, you should do this too. It was so good. And then the last one's consistency. Nothing will kill a business model and a business process more than lack of consistency. If you've got every other rep following up in a certain way, and then you also have marketing that sometimes the client doesn't get followed up with, that is not only going to make people not want to use you, at times it's going to lead to bad reviews about your business, which in turn hurt your business. So making sure you stay consistent. So making sure you focus. The note on this one, and I really want to spend just a second on this, is when it comes to adding force to your flywheel, it takes effort. The trick is to find ways to exert the effort up front in a way that is easily repeated. So the goal with the flywheel is there is a lot of effort that goes into the flywheel. It's the reason that businesses like ours exist, to help clients navigate this. However, the trick is find ways to create really good content up front. Create really good blog content, really good video content, really good audio content, and then find a way to use that over and over again for clients who are in that stage. So those are really good tricks to think about. Now, one thing to note here, if you have the customer data, learn to use it. If you don't have the customer data, learn to capture it. So if you have that data and you're like, hey, I'm sitting on all this customer data, how do I take advantage of it? Let's talk. I want to talk to you about ways to help you use that. If over a cup of coffee or just a quick phone call, give you some ideas of how you can use that customer data. The next thing there is, if you don't have data, learn to capture it. Once again, still reach out to me because I can tell you of ways that you'll be able to capture data. Some of the main ways, just to give you some examples, are having good forms on your website. Finding ways, if you go to a trade show or you go to a home show, finding ways to capture some type of user data. What's their name? What's their business? What's their email? What are they looking for? What are their, if you're at a, I don't know, if let's say you're a home builder, what kind of home are they looking for? What area are they looking to build in? Getting pieces of customer data is super important. So the bottom line, the last thing I want to leave you on is utilizing customer data and a well-organized CRM can lead you to both an increase in customer satisfaction and revenue generated. So if your goals are increase customer satisfaction, like, you definitely need to be doing this. Now, if your goal is revenue generation, also you need to be doing this, because one helps the other. And guess what? Customer satisfaction obviously helps revenue generation, but what we've seen is generating more revenue and finding better ways to be loyal to our customers, to serve our customers, to invest in better tools to help our customers. That also helps that customer satisfaction number go up. So those two things play hand in hand. Now, the last tip I want to leave you with is that you can ensure you get the most out of your CRM by either dedicating internal resources or outsourcing to a trusted partner. If you're not sure what to look for in a trusted partner, reach out. I will give you some things to look for. Like I said, we do this for customers. I'm not going to try to pitch you and sell you on that. I'm just going to tell you the facts. If you want to work with us or work with somebody else, we just want to make sure you get the most out of your customer data. So last thing here is I just want to give you the opportunity to connect with us. I mentioned it earlier in the call. We are a HubSpot Solutions partner. So if you looked at this and you went, the CRM seems cool, this Flywheel seems cool, I want to know more, allow us the opportunity to talk to you, allow us the opportunity to kind of walk you through the process. The best part is that because we're a partner, we can sometimes get you inside information. We can get you some discounting, some different things within the HubSpot system, and really can help you understand where it could benefit your company and what you do. Now, even more so, I don't want to just sit here and ask you, hey, reach out to me, reach out to me. I also want to give you an opportunity to get a copy of the Ultimate CRM Buying Guide. So if you scan that QR code, you're going to go to a website where you can contact us. You can submit a form, which is any type of question you have. You'll also be able to click a button that says download your free copy of the Ultimate CRM Buying Guide. Once you click into that, you will be able to get that copy of the buying guide. Any questions you have, you can reach out to us. The last two things on this screen are my LinkedIn. So if you just want to follow up with me, ask me what my McDonald's order is, you can ask me what my favorite coffee order is or what glasses I ordered. Follow me on LinkedIn. We can connect over there, or then on email, it is zhimes@customerswhostick.com. So thank you guys for your time today, for your attention today. And at that point, I will turn it over to David. I don't know if we have any questions, but if you have any questions, now's the time.
Yep, please ask those questions. Oops. Let me ask a question though. So we were talking through this, the automation process, and it was kind of focused on email response and stuff. Are there other ways to automate ways you reach out to your customers other than email?
Yeah, so there's a handful of ways. You can, if you have a phone number for them, there's a lot of integrations that can tie in for SMS messaging. There's a handful of things. One of the cool ways we use it isn't necessarily a customer side, it's internal, but we utilize, I talked about Slack and how some people like to use Slack. We can automatically send a Slack message to a sales rep or somebody on the marketing team to say, hey, this person just filled out a form. You may want to give them a call. It looks like something you'd be able to handle. There's a lot of different ways. You can also add people to audiences for ads, for lists that you can do. You can also segment those people out. So then all of a sudden you have your list for different products or different services or different tools you use. And the best part, like we kind of talked about, is that it's automated. So once you set that process, once you do that work up front, maybe you make small changes to it, or maybe you go, ooh, I like this, but I want to change it so it also applies to this form, or so it goes on this side of my website or this page on my website. All you got to do is we can change that automation or duplicate it and make it for a new page. So there's a lot you can do. If I had a couple hours to talk about it, I'd tell you all the features, but there's a lot of things. There's a full whole guide of what we can do on there.
Oh, that sounds amazing, actually.
And just to kind of speak to it for just a second on the automation for one more second there. One of the things for us is that was one of our biggest issues, is one of the things that we struggled with just candidly as a business is follow-up, because people would fall through the cracks. We wouldn't reach out to people. I, for a long time, was overseeing a lot of our recruitment and a lot of our interviews. And if you've ever done that and you've gotten 50 to 100 interviews for people or 100 resumes, it's really hard to follow up with everybody. So what I was able to do was create automation that put people in certain lists based on the skill sets, different things they marked on our form. And then from there, I could follow up to them. I could say, okay, this person's not a great fit. Let's let them know. And I could know where somebody was the whole time. So it's a really cool way to make sure that people don't fall through the cracks, and that in turn, you create a good customer experience.
Well, that's amazing. So it sounds like your CRM system, you use that for other things other than just marketing then.
Yes. So we use our CRM for 4 main components of our business. One is just data storage. So making sure that all of our data is stored in one place. We use it for marketing, because making sure that any of those customers are marketed, they're creating lists. We use ad audience, get reporting on any of our ads. One of the cool things about our system in HubSpot is you can create an ad directly from HubSpot and create social posting directly from HubSpot. The next thing we do on there is any of our sales information. And the last thing we do is our service. So we have chats on our website. We have forms on our website for service tickets, and we manage all of that in one place. And the best part is if a company, if let's say let's say David reaches out to me and I know he's with the Louisville SBDC. I could have a company for Louisville SBDC and I can see that David's on that team and every action he takes is going to be under that company. It's going to be under his contact. So if I know he submitted a service ticket, he was part of a marketing email for us, we reached out to him for sales, we put a contract opportunity in there and we moved it through and he's one stage away from closing, I can see all of that in one place. So yes, it does a ton of stuff. Like I said, another situation, I'd need hours to talk about what all it could do or a very specific use case. So it is very useful.
Nice. Well, Zach, thank you so much. This has been super nice. This has been a lot of great information, and it's something we don't use a lot of around here is automation, but so they're going to look into that now. This really looks like a great tool.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I look forward to the next time I get to do this.
All right. Thanks, Zach. And thanks for everybody for joining us today. And we'll see you next time on our Wednesday webinar. Have a good Wednesday.
Thank you for joining today's webinar. At the Kentucky SBDC, we know small businesses are the heart of our economy. That's why our goal is to help business owners start, grow, and succeed in Kentucky. Find out more about how our no-cost business coaching, training, and resources can help your business. Visit us at KentuckySBDC.com.